Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to talk about Felicia Day, a $19 million raise by one of the 3D printing startups, as well as some info from Solidscape and a bunch of stuff from us. Oh, also the Apple keyboard, because that's important. But before that, let's go ahead and get in and pay the bills. First of all, check out merch. We did merch. We got stuff over on Tangled. There are shirts and hats and that kind of thing. The Anti-Injection Molding Club is one of my favorite shirts so far. That's not our logo, of course, but no, these are over there. Also on Tangled, tangledfilament.com. Of course, we just released our $15 filament spools, so those are available over there. This is a single batch, so it's possible that something could go south and we need to bump pricing one more back up again or something, but we're seeing what the scale is and what the demand is here at this level. So hopefully we can keep it forever. So go over there, buy yourself a couple spools if you need some spools of black. Also with Tangled, we recently released desiccate packs. They're like little, almost Altoid tins filled with desiccate that you can throw into your filament bags, and they're rechargeable. Those are also really nifty. So that's a nifty new product that came over there too. So that should pay the bills for this podcast. That's all we need. We got shirts, we got desiccate packs, and we got cheapo filament. So go crazy. Alrighty. So moving into the 3D printing news. Inkbit raises $19 million with Ingersoll Rand and Ford Motor Company. Directors joining board. So Stratasys, along with Future Labs Capital, GC Ventures, iGlobe Partners, Ocado, Phoenix Venture Partners, and Xeon Ventures are contributing to funding, which is led by Ingersoll Rand. Ingersoll Rand itself is a pumping equipment company working a lot with air compressors. As part of it, Jason Weber from Ingersoll Rand, and Henry Ford III, a director at Ford Motor Company, will be joining the Inkbit board of directors. This is interesting. Inkbit has an interesting type of technology. I'll just keep on reading. That'd probably be better. Inkbit will harness the funding to advance its multifunctional additive manufacturing technology, vision-controlled jetting. VCJ is a multi-material manufacturing technology that is said to allow manufacturers to scale from prototyping to production on the same platform. It leans on machine vision-based feedback control and sees parts built layer by layer on a platform that moves under several stations, each performing a specific function, such as material jetting, UV curing, inspection, cooling. So yes, inkjet machines are very Swiss Army knife in what they're able to do, and they're able to grow all kinds of parts. This makes a lot of sense. Ford has been messing with 3D printing for a while, working with everyone from Carbon to Stratasys and so on. Name the name, Ford has messed with it. They've been quite progressive with using 3D printing. 19 million, that imputes a valuation of somewhere between 100 and 200 million generally at this level. So good for Inkbit. Inkbit is an MIT spin out of sorts. Oh, speaking of an MIT spin out, I don't think it's on the news today, but the liquid 3D printing, or the gel-based 3D printing, got an investment of $6 million this week. It's the process where basically you have a needle running through a vat of gel, and it's depositing material, but as it moves through the gel holds the material in place. I think they're going to be using it for producing a lot of cushions and furniture because it'd be really good for that. So good for them. Geek juggernaut Felicia Day teams with Thangs for 3D printable minis and more. Thangs has announced a new partnership with a media powerhouse, Felicia Day. This collaboration will feature a line of STLs co-designed by Day in collaboration with Moonlight Minis, Kaizen 3D Prints, and Mimetics 3D. This is per 3dprint.com. Effectively, Felicia Day has joined Thangs as an influencer and is teaming with other designers to create influencer-created products. STLs for products, because Thangs only sells the STLs. Thangs, you should reach out to us and connect to our API so everything on Thangs can be printed on demand by just opting in. Idea for you. We'll get to you a little bit later on. We're working on stuff. But no, this is great. Felicia Day, while certainly within the 3D printing audience, most certainly knows Felicia Day, but Felicia Day has an audience in addition to that, to where 3D printing can now bleed into other areas. So this is good. It's nifty to see a non-3D printing focused influencer moving into the 3D printing space. It's a good indicator of larger market adoption, even though she's most definitely in the nerd demographic. So it's not broad market adoption, but it's really good. We recently had the AMPOWER report for 3D printing came out. In terms of polymer AM, the feedstock market grew by 12% in 2023, with continuous growth expected due to increased system productivity. Polymers, yeah, this is things like Tangled Filament, on sale over on the site right now for $15. But polymer growing at 10%, 12% growth in a year, that's cooling. The 3D printing market used to grow at like 25% a year across the board. Going down to 12% is still really good. That's still very fast-growing industry compared to the 3 to 5% normal economic growth of most manufacturing companies. So it's good, but it's much smaller than what it used to be and much more conservative than what it used to be. Metal powder bed fusion systems accounted for 40% of sales revenue in 2023, with polymer PBF, industrial systems. There was another note on this that I had pulled in that for the production systems, sales unit volume had not really increased at all over the last 5 to 6 years. This follows up kind of with the Cortex report that we talked about a week or so ago, which went through a whole mess of this stuff. So anyhow, more reports coming out. There was conflicting information in this report too as to total market size. I think the Context report valued the 3D printer market at $20 billion, and the AMPOWER one, if I'm recalling correctly, valued it at like $10 billion, much, much smaller. So, and that is a big gap between two separate reports. So I feel like there's a piece of data left out. Like AMPOWER may have only been focusing on the industrial segment of the industry rather than the consumer-facing segment. I'm not sure. I haven't not read the full report. I am getting this secondhand. But so a few interesting stats in there. Solidscape effectively acquired. Solidscape Inc., a pioneer in high-resolution inkjet 3D printing technology, has announced a significant development in its core. Yeah, the company, known for its 3D printers for the jewelry and precision casting industries, has been acquired by an undisclosed private investor. This change comes as a part of a strategic move to reinforce Solidscape's presence and innovation in the specialized market for 3D printing jewelry. Yes, they effectively print consumable casts, molds for jewelry, to where they basically print out what would effectively be a wax copy of the jewelry. You pour in the metal and it burns out the wax, and then you have a really detailed ring made out of the thing. So Solidscape is a really nifty niche because they have a super focused and very viable audience in that. So this is great info as far as that goes. It's good. It is interesting that it's a fully undisclosed and private investor. This is like private equity, some guys who just know somebody probably in the jewelry industry who's just like, that, give us now. And they just came and got it. So good for them on that. Let's see here. Company news. API. The API has been stable, has been working well. We keep on debugging. If you're a part of the API, make sure you're on the Discord. Feed us any bug feedback that you have, and we'll get that fixed. We're expanding the API as much as possible. Of course, this last week, we released Etsy Corduroy, the new version of the Etsy app, which includes the catalog, which is it's a really cool product, guys, because it gives people who are not 3D printing fanatics a full access to the 3D printing workflow. So we've partnered with STLFlix here to start to provide files, but the files are behind a wall that nobody ever sees, so the files can't be shared, which protects designers, but people can still get access to the prints of the files, which opens it up to a whole different group of people, because now a normal person who wants to create an Etsy store and play with 3D printing can get access to prints of the files, as well as deploying to the Etsy store and our large print farms to build an Etsy store with. So they can have large scale if they need it, and access to be like to start something, and then they can refine with their own models and designs. It also allows people with existing 3D printing stores to kind of pad their store out and get more products on there that they otherwise wouldn't have time to do, because slicing and prepping files is a lot of work. With the catalog, you're able to add in a bunch of new products and not have to worry about slicing Not even really, well, you have to worry a little bit about photography. We haven't added media packs yet, but all of that, the catalog just really enables more people to create 3D printed products and access 3D printed designs that was not possible before. So catalog will continue expanding. We have a few more designer partnerships that are coming down the pipe that will be deployed on catalog over the coming weeks. So it's going to get better and better as we go by. And then, yes, long-term development goals for catalog is we will add a designer portal to where you can submit files and you will receive royalties from the prints of those files rather than simply of the sales of those files. Because right now designers sell the STL and then it's shared online and everybody gets it. So you lose control of your file immediately. So you're stuck doing subscription rather than owning. I got stuff on my hand. I just realized seeing myself in the viewfinder right there. These were actually notes earlier for this show. So that's good. But the sharing the files is protected now because they're never actually shared. They come to us, they never leave us, they never go external to us. So it protects designers much better and gives a lot more resources to sellers much more readily. So catalog is over there. It's a $9 a month subscription right now, so you get access to a bunch of prints quite affordably. And it's going to be fun. We're very excited about where that can go and what it can do. And then, of course, the Etsy app gives you access to our entire print farm so that come Christmas, you're able to keep up without having to add more machines or make your life more miserable if your store is growing. So Etsy is in a cool spot. The Etsy corduroy release is really, really nifty. API, Etsy, with Tangled Filament. So here's the thing, guys. We want to keep on driving for lower and lower costs. There are a few ways of enabling this. Production optimization is the main one we focus on. We're largely engineers on this project, so we're like, oh, how can we automate this, that, and the other thing? But there are a number of business tweaks that we can make as well. And Tangled Filament, in order to be sustainable, I mean, it is pretty much an at-cost kind of a sales sort of process. Things we can mess with shipping, we can get better deals with suppliers, all those kind of things. But we're thinking about introducing a membership tier where you sign up as a member of Tangled, and that gives you access to additional discounts. It's not a subscription, it is a membership. So there's nothing implied. It's not like you're going to buy 3 spools every month, because the problem with that model is that not everybody needs 3 spools every month or 10 spools or whatever it happens to be. And it's also not very controllable. Giving you a membership that gives you a discount code or a discount pass to purchase Filament at a reduced tier does that better, and also allows us to kind of know how much Filament is needed in the future. Like, oh, we've got this many members, however many of you always grab this much Filament each month, so we kind of know what needs to be in the pipe next month, which again makes sure we have better supply and ensures that we have predictable futures that we can plan around and continue to optimize around. Because you can be way more efficient if you know exactly how much you're going to make. But right now, it's based on how much you guys buy, and I don't know, which way the wind going to blow this month. So we're thinking about doing a membership that will give you access to larger discounts, because again, that membership fee would effectively come back to you in reduced cost of the material, and allow us to have better projectability. So comment down below if you're down for membership on Tangled, because we're leaning towards it to replace the subscription. Because right now, this also with the subscription, we will probably be canceling subscriptions here in a couple of months. And we apologize to the subscribers on that, but we think it's the best thing to do, because right now with the last release of Filament, we dropped the cost quite substantially to where the subscription is not as good of a deal. And we did not know this going in, but the subscription provider does not allow us to edit that dynamically. We basically have to unsign a person and sign them back up. So it's a really cumbersome process. They said they were going to get it fixed here by now, but we're rolling with it. So if you have a subscription and you want us to cancel it, let us know to cancel it, and we'll get that going. And we may just go through and force quit a whole bunch of them, just to make sure that we're doing a fair deal. So you can go purchase the spools from us when you need them, but we don't want to. If there's an unused subscription, we don't want to be one of those companies that is milking it for a period of time. Even though it'd be really nice to do that, but we want to make sure we're doing right by y'all. So we may go through and cancel all those. So That's updates for Tangled, API, Etsy, and yeah. Oh, Austin. We are going to be in Austin. I'm going to be in Austin, and we're meeting with a number of folks in Austin to set up the second factory the end of this month. So if anybody's down in Austin, comment and let me know. And I'd love to see folks, or maybe we can get a group together and go grab beers or something. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, let me know. It's going to be in Austin between the 23rd to the 29th or so, looking at the new space. And yeah, meeting with clients and customers and suppliers and everything else. So yeah, reach out if you're in the neighborhood and maybe we can set something up. We'll see. Cool. All right. Discussion topic for the day. The Apple keyboard. Oh. This is an example that I use often. As many of you know, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I worked in product design for a long time. So I have a lot of these little nugget stories that I really love. And quite frankly, I cannot remember where I originally found this story. I read it in a book somewhere. I can't remember which one about Apple it was, but I haven't heard it more broadly. So I really enjoy sharing this story, especially with our dev team and anybody in our team who's working with product, because it's such a good story. So the Apple keyboard on an iPhone is the best keyboard that I have ever used. I use Android right now. I dislike typing with a passion on Android, and I don't care what app it is. They're all awful. I don't want Swipe or Doodle or any of the other ones or all the rest of it. I love the iPhone typing experience. It works all the time with my fat fingers. So that being said, I found out why it was so good a few years ago, again, when I was reading the story. And it's so obvious when you hear it. It's so indicative of a good product design that when you hear it, you're like, oh, of course, that's how you should do it. But it took them a long time to figure it out. So the iPhone was being developed, and the iPhone, it took a year or two to put together, and they took the iPod Touch and turned it into a phone. But Steve Jobs, being Steve Jobs, was very unhappy with the typing experience on a touchscreen because it was terrible. Obviously terrible, because touchscreens have a lot of, especially right then, were very finicky about what was the actual spot touched. So even if you were being really precise, it was tough to hit, and most people want to type with their thumbs, and your thumb has the biggest contact area of any finger on your thing. You don't want to do this. You want to go like this. Side note, for mechanical keyboards, that's compensated for, because even though your thumb is large, it's soft enough that the fingers that you don't press work, which is why BlackBerry worked so well. They had the resistance in the click so that the tip of your thumb actually took the action. Even though it was smearing over other things, it didn't press them down. It doesn't work on a touchscreen. Anyhow, they're typing on the iPhone. Doesn't work at all. Steve doesn't like it. About 8 weeks before iPhone launch, like it was really close to the wire, chucks it back at him, says, "Up and fix it," as he was prone to do. And one of the engineers takes the phone and he goes back to his cubicle, programs up some stuff for a few days, comes back to the design review meeting and says, "Steve, try this." Steve Jobs types on the thing. Says, "This is really good. What'd you do?" He's like, "This is really good. What'd you do?" And the guy says, "So I introduced a small machine learning algorithm into the phone that takes the probability of a word based on the number of letters typed so far. So if you type T, there's a very high probability that the next letter will be H, and you're typing the. The is the most common word that starts with T. So since H is the most likely next letter that you're going to press, the keyboard, the touchable areas of the keyboard change size. If you type T, you're probably not going to type K or Z next. So those get really small and the H gets really big. So when you go to type for the H, you have a better chance of hitting the H even if you're smearing around on the keyboard. So the keyboard of an iPhone is dynamically changing sizes all the time as you type, which is freaking brilliant because you don't see it. The keyboard looks the same to you as the user, but the keys are changing size and shape the whole time as you're typing. I'm sure they built on this to where, yeah, they may even change shape. Who knows? But it's so beautiful and so clean when you hear that. That's a beautiful solution to do something very simple, which is the very simple action you want to do is push a button and actually hit the button that you're trying to push. The constraint is that you have to be around in all of these other buttons. So how do you do that? Well, you create this illusion of being in a bunch of buttons without actually doing that. They may delete whole keys when they're gone. Like if you type a letter T, I'll bet the enter key just disappears completely, or whatever it happens to be. And backspace might always be of a certain size. But they play around with this. So you get to type very seamlessly and very simply. But they are doing this fairly complex dance underneath to enable it. And this is how a lot of really good software and physical products work. And we highlight this a little bit on this channel when we talk about the design of stuff. Like we've talked about how to optimize the design of a cube. A cube is a very simple product, but the subtleties of how to tweak it and push it, make it cheap and affordable and manufacturable. There's all this nuance that you can throw into something. And the Apple keyboard is such a great example of this nuance and skill and expertise coming to fruition to create something really, really amazing, which to this day, still out there probably doing it. And is still so much better than Android. And probably patented too, which helps with it as well. But yeah, I don't know. Android can bake in whatever they want and nobody'd know. But yes, this achievement of a very simple goal, which is to type, is also indicative of how much you can focus on a very simple action. If you take what your product is right now and just start staring at it and being like, how can we make this better? There's probably a huge amount of depth and improvement in there that improves it a lot without adding on another feature. This is kind of the Android methodology. Android's like, we want to do something. Well, sling in another feature. Whereas Apple is like, how can we bury that feature? And Android can connect with every Bluetooth headset. Apple, you take out an Apple AirPod, put it in your ear, and it connects to your phone. It's freaking magical. Yes, it's an ecosystem and it has all those things, but it's so tightly and beautifully created to work with each other. And to be fair, they cannot achieve this more broadly with all the random phones. So Android is implicitly hurt because of its compatibility. But anyhow, this chasing down this beautiful product experience and focusing in on this very simple action. Let's make typing better. Let's make typing better. Let's make typing better. And they're like, it's buttons on a screen. How much better can it get? It's like, it's tough to type on it. I don't like it. Make it better. So they're like, okay, let's have the buttons move around and dance and change sizes as we type. It forces you to continue to improve your product. Because most people say, got it, done, and then they leave it and they go do something else or build another feature. And we're super guilty of this. At Slant 3D, we are always chasing another iteration of the product or another version of the product or a side project. Things like Tangled, our additions and add-ons and that kind of stuff. So you have to be incredibly zealous about killing projects that don't work and making sure that the ones that you're working on are staying strong and true and focused. Literally this week, the dev team, we've been working on our Kraken production system and redoing the UI for it. And the first UI that was released was very, very clunky. But literally just today, the guys showed me the new update for it, and I was running through it, and it was a small change. It was a small change that actionably from the developer was very little effort. But when you did it, you were just like, oh, it was just like falling into a pillow. You're like, oh, this just made life so much better. That bump in the road smoothed out and you just felt it. And it was just so nice to work on. But you don't get that unless you focus on the product and force it to be better and better and better and better. And it's amazing how far you can take something generic and obvious and normal and make it so much better just by staring at it. People always think they have to invent fusion to create a really good product, but you don't. You just have to take what is there, combine it with your expertise and your own creativity, and you can make it so much better, more beautiful, more functional, more practical in ways that you would never anticipate. And Here's an example. This one doesn't apply anymore, but like imagine if you made a universal TV remote 20 years ago, made a universal TV remote that just had power, volume, and channel switcher. Imagine how beautiful and wonderful that product would have been when every other universal remote was this scientific calculator mess. You would create the solution to the problem with remotes. The problem with remotes back in the day was that you had 4 of them, and all of them had 20 buttons. So you grab one for the volume, and then you grab one to change the channel, and then you grab one to TiVo your show. If you just had one remote that said those 4 or 5 buttons, which is how all smart TVs are designed now, because we actually have good designers in product design now. But that is the type of thing. TV remotes had reached their crescendo of features, but they were terrible for customer experience. It's not really relevant anymore. Nobody needs a universal remote anymore. And yeah, smart TVs have all made it easy anyhow. But it's those simple things of how to just improve the product by staring at it and being disgusted with it. And this is an interesting, I shouldn't go down these holes. Most people who create a product create it and then are wildly proud of themselves. Look at that. Look how amazing that is. Look how brilliant I was. My genius idea is going to be patented and protected, and everybody's going to have to sign an NDA to see it, and I'm going to be a genius, and it's going to sell 1 million copies. That puts you in a complete state of uselessness, because a product is successful when you, as the creator, are perpetually disgusted with it. Because if you are not disgusted, customer feedback and everything else doesn't mean anything with you. You have to assume that your product is crap and be looking for ways to make it better. And then you will be open to the ways that make it better when they come across. Perpetual disgust. And you're also open to customer feedback. If you're disgusted with your product and somebody comes back and says, the button's too slow, and you're like, I know, that button's been so irritating for so long. We should fix that right now, guys. Come on, let's get that up. The customer serves as a vote in addition to yours, and your momentum is already to fix it and improve it, rather than it's so brilliant and somebody comes back and says the button is too slow and you're like, you're an idiot. You don't know how to use the app. Be perpetually disgusted with your products, and it allows you to make mundane products so much better and allows you to continue to evolve in a way that otherwise would never be possible, because you can only iterate and improve a product if you think it's bad. If you think it's great, then that product is slowly dying and you just don't recognize it. It's rotting in your arms and you're like, no, this grape is just as beautiful as the day I plucked it. No. But if you're disgusted with the product, it leaves you open to other feedback, leaves you open to better improvements, and also makes that product not precious, because it shouldn't be. You should be working on the next version and the next style and immediately disgusted with what you did 6 months ago. You should be disgusted with what you did yesterday. Because if you're not, somebody else is who is disgusted with it is going to fix it and loop you. Have a great day, everybody.